Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
This town needs an enema.
Riddle me this, riddle me that. Who's afraid of the big black bat?
When Gotham is ashes, you have my permission to die.
Gotham! This is your liberation.
My mother warned me about getting into cars with strange men.
This isn't a car.
20 years in Gotham. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way? He has the power to wipe out the entire human race.
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
He's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a dark knight. I'm Batman.
Let the games begin.
Welcome to the Batman on Film podcast. Here are your hosts, Bill, Jett, Ramey, and Rick Shew.
Hey now! Hey now. That's a good hey now. Because we're back. All of us are back after, I think, a couple shows ago. Rick and I did a show by ourselves together, and then the last show was Justin and Ryan. But we'll talk more about that in just a second. But anyway, thanks for listening to Volume 2, Episode 72 of the Batman on Film podcast. BOF is the sponsor and a proud member of the Batman Podcast Network. Check out all the shows at batmanpodcastnetwork.com. Got some new additions to the network as well. I am the host of this podcast and the founder of Batman on Film, Bill, Jett, Ramey. Almost 19 years ago, guys. A few more weeks.
Wow.
The weekend of our Wonder Woman watch party will be mark the 19th anniversary of Batman on Film.
Wow.
Yeah. With me today is my co-host, Rick Shew. Rick, how the hell are you, man?
I'm back.
Pun intended?
I kicked that one down the road. I'm doing well. I'm allowed that podcast you and I did, just the two of us. What year was that? 86?
Was it seem like that?
It seems forever ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Here we are.
Yeah. And also with us today are the great BOF Roundtablers, Justin Kowalski and Ryan Hoss, and Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive, the damn original.
Yeah.
Damn original. So I wanted to start off with, Rick, you had back surgery. We talked about it on the podcast, and it was a son of a bitch, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they removed 3 discs from my back, did a lower lumbar spinal fusion. It's about as serious as it gets. It's intense. It's been a rough ride these last 2 weeks, but I'm slowly getting a little better. Like, there's no way I could have done a show last weekend. I was personality 0 and just in too much pain, but I'm okay today. It's every day is a little better. Yeah. And there's a big picture to all this. Once I'm healed and done, I'll be like Bionic Man. I mean, I'm going to go from not being able to be very active to recovering from months for surgery to being more active than I probably have been since my 20s once the fusion takes place. I mean, it's a pretty remarkable thing what they can do.
Yeah. So, yeah, you feeling, I've talked to you a little bit here and there, and we had a lot. I mean,
I'm going to start doing some boxing again. I'm going to get back on a bike.
Ooh, like Rocky.
It's like Rocky. Speaking of Rocky, Rocky for another day. Another day, Rocky. Yeah. We're gonna do a 5-part podcast on Rocky movies one of these days. Damn it!
You sound good. I mean, we talked for a good while last weekend, and you were sounding like your old self. I told you that too. You were sounding like your old self because I talked to you before that. You weren't sounding like your old self.
No, the first 5 days home from the hospital were not. I just told everybody just avoid me, ignore me. And then we're taking a family trip next weekend. We leave on Friday, I think, and we're going to the Dominican Republic. That's going to be interesting because a 5-hour plane ride that's going to be problematic. But once I'm there, it's just chilling on the beach. So even if I start having a bad day and I need to go lie down, so I go back to the hotel room. No big deal, right? I mean, I would just be lying in my own bed. Why not their bed?
Yeah.
Better view.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Better view than Plano, Texas concrete.
All right. I just want to let you give everybody an update on how you were doing, and you did come out. Surgery came out well.
I climbed out without the rope.
Ooh,
yeah. That's a good analogy.
Felt the fear. Good.
All right. Also, I want to say thanks to Justin and Ryan for their awesome show they did. That was was it last weekend, or you did it before the weekend?
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, a week and a half ago. So that had a great response. A lot of positive feedback.
Oh yeah.
How about a little, just a real little recap for folks? Justin, since you hosted it, it was a great show, and y'all talked about mainly Batman toys and stuff, right?
Yeah, me and Ryman kicking an idea. It'd be cool to do a just kind of a Batman on film in action figure show, and we invited on Rob from Everybody Loves a Drake, and yeah, we just kind of went at it. It actually was starting to like snowball into bigger and bigger, and we're like, we got to just cut this show off because Ryan wasn't feeling well, and it was getting late, and we were like, we just kind of stopped it right at the end of Dark Knight Rises because that's kind of that was a good cut to like, okay, this is where we're going to kind of put our I don't know, put the little, I don't know what you what do you say when you're done?
Put a pin in it.
Put a pin. There you go.
We're gonna take the pin.
It is way too early for me to think of those things. Yeah, put a pin in it right there, and we didn't even cover the fun stuff like the hot toys. We covered just basic like stuff you get at Target.
So
so
y'all gonna do another one, right?
If our boss lets us, we will.
I mean,
we will do
absolutely. Y'all need to start planning on one because there was a lot of people want more of that stuff, and
that's awesome.
Like I said, it went over really well.
Have some ideas. Nice.
All right. Let's talk a little Batman. I guess when it comes to the Batman, the movie, things have kind of settled down quite a bit after all of the drama the first few months. So I'm really not expecting to hear anything quote unquote big when it comes to the Batman. It's probably like late July or August when Matt Reeves actually gets to work on it. But there's a few things we can talk about. Maybe the way it's going to be approached by Warner Brothers and Ben Affleck and director Matt Reeves, because a couple weeks ago, I don't know, it wasn't that long ago, maybe a week or so ago, Patty Jenkins starting to do press for Wonder Woman, and she made a comment about the future of the DCEU I wanted to bring up, and then we'll kick around and see what everybody thinks. She said that, and here's her quote, "I think there's a lot of directors doing cool things. I know the storylines for a lot of these films they are working on, and they are all vastly different with very different tones and very different styles of storytelling. Jason Momoa is off to shoot Aquaman right now, and that is such a cool story. It's got its own separate vibe, and I'm excited to see each of these films." So, Rick, what did you take from her, from that right there? And she said something else I'll bring up in a minute, but what's your initial thoughts on that?
It has its own separate vibe. I like that. Meaning it's going to just stand on its own and be its own film. Mm-hmm. And, we've talked about this for months. That's what has been missing with the DCU. That's what they need. These characters need to blossom in their own individuality, and they need to have directors with a specific vision that lets them do that. I don't know how much crossover Aquaman is going to have. Obviously, with the same actor, this is going to be in the universe. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if there's not even a reference to Superman or Batman or Wonder Woman or anybody else in Aquaman. I just wouldn't be surprised. Maybe there is, but I don't know.
I don't think there will be, or very little. I mean, there's no need.
Very little, yeah.
There's no need for it. Ryan, what are your thoughts, man?
When I read that quote, the first thing I thought was, that's exactly what you, Bill, have been saying for a long time now.
Yes.
That a lot of these films going forward are going to feel like their own thing. And
yeah,
like
you did. Now, let me give you credit.
2.0.
You did turned me on to this, gave me the heads up for this article. So thank you, sir, for that. But go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just reading this, I'm like, wow, that's sounds like a lot what Bill's been saying. We want films that, can be their own thing and be director focused and just, be about those characters instead of having to adhere to, just for the trajectory of a, shared universe. And that's kind of what we said. We kind of wish the universe would take a direction in, and that's what you said they would be doing. And this quote from Patty Jenkins just kind of validates that a little bit to kind of show kind of where the headspace is for some of these films moving forward. So I think it's good.
Yeah. Justin, you're probably a little bit more a fan of the shared universe thing, the DCEU itself. How do you feel about them kind of we called it course correcting for one of them, making a change, this DCEU 2.0 as I've been referring to it, and letting, focusing on these characters individually and letting these directors kind of, do what they want to do within reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a huge fan of having different storylines. I like lots of things. So if they want to do something that's a little more, let's say that they've rumored this before, not that it's happening. So just, this is what people have said. Internet is like, well, if they did Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, like buddy cop show, that's funny. Like, let's do that. Let's do that film. And then let's also do crazy sci-fi Hawkman movie, and let's also do crazy, Batman movie. I like these characters, and I like when people have if it's a good fit, let's do that. That makes total sense for this guy to direct that thing, and I think it works really well when you let people do what they're good at. That being said, I also like when, hey, there's a point where they're all gonna mix it up, and that's good, but they don't have, like you guys are saying, you don't have to reference it like, one time I talked to Superman, like, why? That doesn't add to the story. Like, I think
the circus is halfway to Metropolis by now.
Yeah. Well, that was, there was no payoff with that. That was like, well,
this is why Superman works alone.
I'm excited. Like, James Wan doing Aquaman, that is going to be a good film. Like, I'm excited about that. I'm kind of bummed. It's like, it's like a year and a half away, but, yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how Wonder Woman plays out, because, like you said, this is Snyder produced. This is part of the old, regime of how it was set up to be. So, I'm hoping that even though it, this is kind of like a hired gig. Like, hey, here's what we want to do. We want you to do it. It sounds like she's a kind of a yes lady, a yes man in this situation. Okay, I'll do what you want me to do, and I'm excited about a sequel because that's what she sounds really passionate about when you read these interviews.
Yeah,
and I'm bringing, that's great. Thank you for setting me up there. She did say they asked her about a sequel, and this is also interesting what she says.
To be clear, you're talking about Patty Jenkins, a sequel to Wonder Woman, right?
Okay. Yes, Wonder Woman.
So make sure everybody's following.
Yes. Okay. She says, I'd like to bring her, Wonder Woman, a little further along into the future and have a fun, exciting storyline that is its own thing. That is
translation. I want to make the Wonder Woman movie I want to make.
Yes, that's my interpretation as well. Here's my fear, guys, about Wonder Woman, which I am very excited for. We're having Rick, go ahead, tell us. We're having our watch party. Where?
The Cinemark in West Plano, 20 minutes north of downtown Dallas.
Yes. Hey. And Justin will be there as well, and we'll be having fun. So anyway, I really want this film to do well. There's a part of me I fear, since like Justin just brought up, it being under the old regime, the DCEU 1.0, that there's going to be a bit of beating us over the head that this followed Batman versus Superman. And guess what? We have Justice League coming in a few months. And so it's going to be almost a bit of a commercial for Justice League. I'm worried about that part of it. I don't know. Do you guys share that concern or not?
I feel like maybe the bookends, the very beginning and very ending, will probably do some of that stuff. But luckily, since this is an origin film that takes place in World War I, the vast majority of it, I hope, just plays it as its own thing, really.
Yeah. Yes. Myself.
Yeah. That's my hope.
What about Justin? Do you fear there's too much of a DCEU commercial in Wonder Woman for it that will kind of, maybe weigh it down a little bit?
Yeah, they haven't really alluded to much of that in the trailers, but like Ryan says, I feel like there's going to be at least a lot of communication between her and Bruce Wayne somehow, whether it's off screen or part of the film. That's just kind of where it's set up right now. I think this is their big, like, okay, this is how we have to push in the Justice League. when they when they started this. I don't know. Hopefully, there's ways to edit around that, and if they're looking at this film right now and going, hey, you know what, we can cut some of this stuff out. When we all get it, we know Justice League is coming out, and we know Wonder Woman's a part of it. Like it doesn't have to dovetail 100% into it. If they want to do a little side scene, like I didn't mind the scene in Suicide Squad at the end where Bruce Wayne is talking to Amanda Waller. Do something like that if you want, like mid credits, but it doesn't have to be this like on the nose. Like, I'm going to join you, Bruce. I just have to, all this type of stuff.
Well, here's what I want to see. I want to see this movie come out and it be good, and us to not immediately after find out that there's like, oh, the original cut of this movie was longer and better, and then we're going to have an extended cut later that shows what we originally were going to have. Yeah. So I don't want a repeat of BVS and Suicide Squad. I want this film to come out and be its own thing and be good the whole time.
You know what? Yeah. Even if there's another...
Just be a good Wonder Woman. Man.
Yeah, and even if there is another cut, I think just for publicity's sakes, or however you want to word it, just perception. Perception. Don't put out, don't even say that there's a better film. Here's the director's cut. Here's the extended cut.
Yeah.
Whatever. So yeah, we all have high hopes for Wonder Woman, and I do think her Patty Jenkins, I mean, not Wonder Woman herself, but Patty Jenkins, quotes here are very telling and very important, significant. They're very interesting. And I wonder, with Matt Reeves doing the Batman, I wonder how much different. I think it's a whole new film. I think once he took over, I think whatever had been planned before is gone. They may use some elements, but I don't. Yeah. I think it's going to be a brand new film, and I'm very, very curious to see what he does. There's so many things. There's just so many things they could do. They could do a prequel. They could do back and forth prequel in today. I have no idea, but I am very excited to see what they're going to do. Go ahead.
There's a lot of different. Sorry to jump in. With the Batman happening, there is a lot of stuff that they're planning around it, though. So I wonder how much he's able to speak into things like Joss Whedon doing Batgirl, the Nightwing stuff. Like those characters cross over to what he's doing. Yeah. Like not everything is, but there's probably like what was that photo that came out the other day of Josh Gad? Not that he isn't Penguin, but it sounds like he's petitioning or whatever it is. Does Matt Reeves get to go? Oh yeah, that works in line because I actually wanted to use Penguin in part of this thing. Yeah, that's cool. Like I hope that there is some kind of person spearheading this and leading it. That's the
Batman side of this whole
Batman
side. Because if
between movies,
Josh Whedon's like, oh, I want this dude to portray this character, and Reeves is like, oh man, that doesn't work for me. Like I want the same actor to be in these movies.
Yes.
I hope that there's somebody like controlling the board a little bit, because then it becomes a mess. I think there needs to be somebody like, hey, here's the toys in the box, but do what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it.
I think that's what they'll do. I mean, I'm convinced that we haven't seen the last of Jared Leto either.
Yeah, he seems to still pop up here and there, teasing stuff, and
he posted that. What was it? They're Hot Toys characters, right? In a pose that probably he picked up online somewhere, and then just.
I like the people that thought that was real. That was my favorite part.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But going back, I was going to bring up Josh Gad in just a minute, but yeah, it's going to be fun to see what they do. Rick, what do you think? Do you with the talk of Nightwing, and then you've also got Gotham City Sirens, so you're going to have a Catwoman and Poison Ivy, along with Harley, of course, who's already been cast with.
That's right. Ayer said that, huh?
Yeah,
he said that.
Margot Robbie was already in the role with Suicide Squad, and then you've got Nightwing and Batgirl and. Do you? Someone asked me. It might have been in the mailbag. I said, "Do you think that we'll see Nightwing and Batgirl introduced in the Batman?" And my response was, "If Matt Reeves wants them in the film, they'll be in the film. If he does not, he won't." So that's my take. Rick, what's your thought? Do you? I don't want the Batman to be a setup now for the Batman cinematic universe movies. Let it be its own thing, and if there's a need for Nightwing, there's a need for Batgirl to be in the film for a storytelling reason, and not just to say, oh, here's Batgirl, And by the way, she's going to have her own movie with Joss Whedon in a year or so. I don't
right.
see that. Yeah.
Here's a 7-Eleven surveillance clip of Batgirl. and I think that I guess your question is what specifically is your question? What do I think about that?
Yeah, just the whole thing. Like, are they in it? Why are they in it? And so forth.
Well, I think
if they're in it at all.
I think you hit the nail on the head. If there is a purpose for them, they'll be in it. If there's not, there will not. I do not think Matt Reeves is going to shoehorn these characters in, via 7-Eleven surveillance video. I mean, I hate to keep saying that, but it's true. I think that these characters will serve their purpose. Now, Nightwing could very well play into the Batman movie. If there is still, we've got the lingering backstory about the deceased Robin, who we all agree is probably Jason Todd at this point, and so Dick Grayson is out running around somewhere. That could work. That could be a very interesting subplot in the film. So I applaud it if that's the way he wants to do it. All I want is for these directors to be able to make the movie they want to make. And I'm going to reference Star Wars. Look at what Kathleen Kennedy has done with Star Wars. She has let directors step in and make their own movie. And that's what we're getting right now. With the new trilogy of Star Wars, you're getting a new director in each film putting their own unique style on it. And the guy that did Rogue One, same thing. And these spin-off films that are coming. That's what I want for the DCEU, is to have these where they're connected. There obviously has to be some consistency and some consulting with other directors and writers about what's going on and making sure there's continuity, but letting the writers and directors make their own story. And even though it's part of an extended universe, and even though it's part of a larger picture, it can still sort of be in a vacuum as an individual film at the same time. It's kind of a tricky thing to walk. How are you in a vacuum yet part of this expanded universe? Yeah. But it can be done. And quite frankly, I think Star Wars is doing that. If Star Wars can do it, the DCU can do it.
Let me ask you this, Rick: who's directing the Force? Not the Force Awakens.
The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Rian Johnson.
Okay.
Rian Johnson.
Did he write the script?
Yes.
He wrote the script.
Okay.
In fact, he wrote the script, and it was just announced recently that he went to J.J. Abrams and said, hey, listen, at the end of The Force Awakens, can you just do me one favor? As he was writing, can you make the droid that goes with Rey to find Luke, can you actually make that R2-D2? Because it was BB-8 in the original script. And JJ's like, cool, I can do that. And that was to set up, obviously, a story. He wants Luke and R2 together again for a reason. So little things like that the DCU could do is, hey, throw me a bone, brother. Do you mind just changing this one thing or this one little, but the question is this, and using Star Wars still as the frame of reference, who is the Kathleen Kennedy of the DCU?
Yeah.
And that's the question that we're all asking right now is, who is that person?
Well, it was Zack Snyder.
And it was kind of Jeff Johns, right? But is it?
Jeff Johns, that's a whole different conversation, but Jeff Johns does not have or did not have as much, how am I going to explain this? Influence,
right?
Story-wise, when it came to these films, I'm not sure how much he or John Berg. I don't think they're on the level of, say, the
Feige,
the Feige with Marvel, or
that's
Miss Kennedy you were just referring to with Star Wars. So
right,
but
that's what we need right now. We need a person who's directing the directors, who's just there to make sure there's continuity, to make sure that, and then at the same time people can breathe on their own. Because to Justin's point earlier, if this thing starts getting different cast members and different continuity aspects of characters, then it's going to be a mess, right? Yeah, it's like either do it right or just let all these stand on their own.
You've got to have it where that person is there, like you said. I agree with what you said, for continuity issues and so forth. I really don't want it to be, and this is no knock on Marvel again, so I hope no one takes it that way. I don't want it to be like the Marvel Cinematic Universe where you have Feige and he is basically the king of the MCU, and each of these movies are kind of like, it's kind of like a TV series, and they're all episodes, and they have different directors coming in, because there is a lot of conforming to what they're doing with in the Marvel Cinematic Universe when you take one of those gigs. I would like for the DC films to have a little bit more, be more director friendly and more filmmaker friendly and writer friendly than the Marvel stuff is. I don't know if y'all agree with that or not, or if that's something you would be looking for. But
you look. I would say some of the Marvel stuff though has been a little more focused to the writer and the director, because the James Gunn stuff, completely different than what.
Yeah, I will give you that. Yes.
Yeah. But I see what you're saying. I feel there's more of a guided hand on some of the Marvel stuff, and that may work for them because there is a lot of cookie cutterness too. Again, I don't want to get into a big Marvel like here's how they.
I think it was a lot more like that at first too, but now that they've had so many films, they kind of know which films need that and which films you can leave up to the director, like the James Gunn. They trust him so much at this point that they're letting him kind of direct that whole cosmic side of the MCU. But that's what I'm saying. The DCEU needs to get to that point.
Well, as excited as I am for Spider-Man: Homecoming, and I am. That could very well be an Iron Man film with Spider-Man in it, because it's essentially what it is. And so I don't want us to get to that point either. I don't want Ben Affleck's Batman.
I would hope that's not that. You think you think it's going to be that much of?
Nah, that film.
We'll know when it comes out. I haven't seen the film yet. I don't know the script. but if you just look at the way it's being advertised, I mean, Iron Man's in the whole thing. Yeah. I mean,
I think they showed us the Iron Man scene. To be honest,
well, clearly
their marketing has been super focused.
And I don't think so. I think that my prediction, he's in this film a lot more. He's going to help him, assist him in fighting and everything else. I think he's going to be in it quite a bit. Could be wrong, but my point is this:
so you're
just
saying
the way
it's Iron Man 4 with special guest star Spider-Man.
That's kind of how some of the ads look, yes. And I know at the end of the day it's not going to be that necessarily, but my point is that I don't want the DCU to get anywhere near I don't want a trailer to even imply that. I want these characters to have their own individual identities.
Yes.
That's the best way to phrase it.
Yeah. I agree. And I think that's where we're heading, and I don't think we're going to be getting beat over the head with, this is a DCEU film. Look, we exist together. Oh, we're going to mention Batman. We're going to mention so-and-so. I think they're going to be their own thing. Like, here's the way I want it. I want to be able to go see the Batman, and in my mind, if there's no other characters, DC characters existing, it's just I'm watching a Batman movie without having to worry about what's going on in another film or how it's going to set up this film and that film. Same thing for Aquaman. Same thing for... I mean, what's coming up for sure? What give me some non-Batman?
Siren.
Some non-Batman universe.
Non-Batman.
Flash.
Okay, anyway.
Maybe Robert Zemeckis Flash.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, Robert Zemeckis Flash would be amazing.
I'm still not going to hold my breath on the Flash, but anyway.
Would they say they put out? I saw something the other day that it might be put back till 2020. So, man.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you guys this. I'm gonna ask the point blank question.
All right.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a Justice League 2?
Depends on how well Justice
League 1 does. Yeah. That's the answer. Yeah.
I would agree with that, and I think that, and I think it's a good thing too. I think that they're not going to put that on these new directors, Wan and Reeves, to build up to a Justice League 2. If it
need to push for it. Yeah.
Yes. If it happens organically, then let it happen.
All right, let me modify my question.
Okay.
Is Justice League, the film that's coming out in November, is it going to have a definitive ending?
How you
I hope so.
I've said ad nauseum that it has to. It has to. For this continue on successfully. It's got
I understand, but will it?
I would say yes.
I don't think it's going to be a cliffhanger or anything.
Yeah, after the changes they made after Batman v Superman and cut that film down to just being one when it was a 2-part film, and actually even said, we never said it was going to be a 2-part film, which was bullshit. But yeah, I think it's going to have a definitive ending, which worries me because you're trying to squeeze what was planned into 2 films into one.
Look, I don't have a lot of faith in Justice League. To be honest with you, I just want it to come and go and be done with. Wonder Woman looks great. I think Justice League is going to be what it is, and then hopefully, then we're gonna have a new start next year. Okay, so here's my next question.
All right,
Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, these films will, and we discussed this earlier, to some extent will reference the extended universe, and it's hopefully just very minor and subtle. But my guess is they'll almost have to.
Why?
Where do these take place? In other words, okay, Justice League is coming out. Is Aquaman a prequel to that? Is it?
Maybe it is.
Well, Roven in the past has said each DCEU film takes place after the previous one for continuity reasons somehow. And when you look at Wonder Woman, it's like, yeah, it takes place in the past, but that's why they have the bookends where it'll show where they kind of are presently. Now, that was a while ago, and a lot of things could have changed, but I don't think that's a bad approach if they stick with that.
Yeah, there's probably some flashbacks and stuff like that. In the end, I don't really care. I mean, I feel like the audience can be smart enough to go, oh, this happens before.
I don't think, I do too, Justin. I don't think Aquaman's going to have any nods hardly at all to anything else but Aquaman.
Yeah.
I think it's Aquaman. And
if it's its own thing, then that'll be even less of an issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love.
Hey, at the end of the day, we just want these films to be good, regardless of how they approach it. If the end result is good, that's all that we care about. But what we're trying to do right now, I think, is what we feel like our professional opinion is in terms of the best route to take to make them good. Is that fair to say?
I will say this, and it will be positive. I am 100% on board with the DCEU 2.0. I applaud what they're doing right now with Matt Reeves and James Wan. I wanted to continue with all these other films. Joss Whedon with Batgirl, Chris McKay, our friend, on Nightwing. I'd love to see that movie get made. David Ayer
again.
We need to get him back to the show.
David Ayer is a very good writer and filmmaker, and I think whatever issues that Suicide Squad had was not his fault at all.
Yeah.
Like it was a studio thing. So, and I think that's why he's getting another go around. So with Gotham City Sirens. So anyway, but like I said, I am for what they're doing now 100%. All right, guys. Josh Gad, his tweet with the Penguin picture. Anything to that?
Well, he's going to be going up. He's going to be going up against Doc Ock.
Wait, what?
Ock?
Huh? Yeah.
What?
What's the actor's name that played Doc Ock?
Alfred Molina?
Yeah.
Alfred Molina, thank you. Now it's being rumored that he has been in talks with Warner Brothers about playing the Penguin as well.
I bet that's all BS.
Okay.
That's all
It could be. I mean, it very well
What's
could.
happening?
Where is this from?
What's that?
What outlet?
I've seen that in a variety of different sources. It all probably has the same
Facebook?
origin.
Where?
Yeah, I saw it. You know what I saw it? I saw it in a message from Ryan. He text messaged me.
No.
Said I had a dream last night that Doc Ock played Penguin.
Nope. Did not happen.
So that's just 100% rumor. But Josh Gad did tweet a picture. I mean, that came directly from him. Is he being coy there, or is he trying to tell us something?
That's what I'm asking you all. What do you think?
Well, I think he's going to be Penguin and Armie Hammer's going to be Green Lantern. I mean, it's obvious. I just kind of like, you know, like I commented on the BOF article about this, and you know, lately, when you know, a long time ago when this kind of stuff happened, you really couldn't put too much stock into it, but now, you know, it's happened too many times to where it's kind of can't really ignore it, especially if an actor tweets a picture like that, and then suddenly people involved in DC movies like John's and people start following them on Twitter, then it kind of makes you kind of look at it a little bit closer, right?
That's funny.
Okay. Rick, I just Googled. I've seen nothing about Albert Molina and the Penguin.
I saw someone's Twitter. I saw a picture.
I mean,
are you trolling?
I was just kind of kidding about it. It's a silly rumor going around. I don't know. I doubt it's true myself.
That's where I'm asking you.
It just was meant to be a joke, and it just.
I know.
Fell on its...
Well, you tend to partake in some suspect outlets at times, and I'm just wondering. I was wondering where you.
Oh, I tend to partake in suspect outlets. Yes, I will send a link occasionally, and
I will not name them.
Let's be entertained by this particular thing.
Usually I go, why are you there? Why are you even looking there? Yeah, okay.
Well, I'll explain to you why, because I have a million Facebook friends that are into all sorts of stuff, and all it takes is for someone like Frank or Tom or whatever to comment on something, and it comes up on your newsfeed. You don't have to follow it directly; it'll just frickin' haunt you.
Yeah.
And so you look, you're going, okay, what is this bullshit? And you read it, and you go, oh, that's funny, and then I'll send you guys a text or whatever. But it's not. If you go to my likes, sir, you will see I don't like those pages myself. I'm gonna educate you on how Facebook works. I actually missed the day Facebook, and I don't know if you guys even remember this, but the first few years that Facebook was around, not everything you did went to news feeds. Like Rick commented on this CNN thing, or Rick like this, or so and so like that, or so and so commented on this. It's kind of a beating, but Ryan doesn't deal with.
And I've gotten this with my wife before. She goes, did you see this and that? And I said, no. Where? It was in the news feed. I never look at the news feed. I never go there. So I just, if I want to see what Rick's doing, I'll go to Rick's page or whatever. But all right, enough about this Facebook nonsense. So
that's how I used to. That's up until recently. That's how I did Twitter as well. But now I don't.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Social media. We're going to talk about Instagram next. What's else?
I think Instagram's overrated.
Snapchat. What's some other ones? Somebody help me out here.
I don't know. Okay. I'm out. Facebook and Twitter.
MySpace.
Tinder.
Justin's on Instagram, aren't you?
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff on Instagram.
Okay.
How do you keep up with so many of them? I mean, 2 is hard enough.
I don't really post, like, if I'm doing photos, like, say I put a picture of my kid up. I just put it up on my Instagram, and it goes to where, that's so my grandma and my mom everyone can see, hey, there's my kids. Most of my stuff is probably kid stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's like,
you can sync all those up, can't you?
That's what I do. Yeah. Like, I just put a picture, and it spits it out to where I choose. But, yeah, it's cool. It just depends on what you're trying to accomplish in social media. But yeah, Facebook's more of like, if I'm going to just leave like a thought, I'll just go to Facebook or. Yeah, I use Twitter for different reasons.
Ryan, I think since we have our nefarious troll, our Twitter troll, Wizard
44.
Yeah, who's been quite of a son of a bitch lately, I might add. But I think we need to create a Facebook page for him. That'll be your like Facebook. You can spy on everybody. You can be voyeuristic.
I don't like that.
44.
Don't need it.
Wizard 44. You don't know the inside.
There's too many Wizard 44.
You don't know
There's like 10 of them.
You don't know the inside joke on Wizard 44. You need to go back and listen to
if you don't know the inside joke on this guy,
Rick didn't know what he created.
And then Rick is the creator of Wizard. It's going to be a comic book next.
What I love is when Wizard 44 Zard starts trolling me or whatever. And then somebody that doesn't like us, doesn't like Batman on Film, will like his comments or his, or retweet it or whatever. That kills me. They don't know. They don't realize that it's us doing that. It's just awesome.
Well, one time you didn't even know.
Oh, shut the edit this out. All right. So we're all under the, we're not taking the Josh Gad tweet too serious at the moment, correct?
Yeah, I'm not, but
it could be anything.
He doesn't look. He looks too. Gosh, this is gonna sound terrible, but he just looks too Disney to me. He looks too, sweet. Like if I took a bite of him, he'd probably taste like marshmallows and cotton candy. Like I want Penguin to be a little. I want the Penguin to be a little more. He's not the most.
Rough around the edges.
Rough character, but I want him to have a little bit of grit to him. I mean, he's a crime boss. He's running like arms and stuff like that.
I want him done right. I want him done.
Yeah. There you go. That's right.
I just don't want a goose spewing, duck riding, baby murdering gutter boy.
Sewer living.
I wanted Bob Hoskins in The Dark Knight. That would have been great.
He has a little bit of texture to him. He had some. I think that would have been great. But this guy doesn't look like to me.
I really like the way the Penguin was in the Arkham games. That was a really good characterization of the character. Anyway, go ahead.
Nice.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that's perfect. Like anything, just this guy. This guy's he's a chubby guy. Like anyone can eat some pizzas and be the Penguin. So just get a good actor. And
agreed. All right. So our next, rumor relating to the Batman that we can comment on is that this was from Heroic Hollywood, Humberto Gonzalez, El Mayimbe, right?
Yeah.
Humberto, I call him. Anyway, apparently Affleck, according to him, Affleck is back in the gym training for the Batman. Okay, I mean, anything? Any thoughts on that? I mean, does it mean anything? What if he is in the gym? Does it mean anything? Does it definitely mean he's training for the Batman?
No. Just like him tweeting to Matt Reeves, "Welcome to the Batcave," doesn't mean he's doing the Batman. I won't believe Affleck is back until there's an official announcement about it. Okay, I still think it's 50-50 that he returns.
I'll still agree with the 50-50 thing. He may be back in the gym. Hey, look, I want him to return. It's not like I don't at all. So
do I.
I hope he's gotten it together and he is feeling good on many levels and is back in the gym, whether it's for Batman or not. It's just getting his body and his mind right. So, but for him to get in Batman shape, that's about a 6-month training session.
He needs to start. If he's doing it, he needs to start now.
Exactly.
I think he's Batman. I don't have any reason to think he's not going to do it at this point. It sounds like he's trying to get healthy. I hope. Let me rephrase. I hope that he is Batman. I'm pretty confident that he's going to continue on in the role, but I guess we'll see around November. I mean, I guess it all depends on that stuff.
I mean, for me, you could tell me he's doing it or that he's not, and it would be the same level of surprise, or you know what I'm saying. I think it could go either way for me, and I just hope that he is.
Brian, any thoughts about Ben Affleck pumping iron again, allegedly?
I mean, the way I'm taking it is like, we all know what went down with the Batman earlier this year, and it just didn't seem like Affleck. Well, it was the case that Affleck wasn't in the place to start that film the way it needed to start. With the script and all that stuff, and bowing out as director and everything. So, knowing what the trajectory is right now with Reeves directing and when it could start shooting, it totally makes sense that Affleck could be doing what he's doing now. It makes sense.
Yeah, like I said, that's like for him to be in the shape he was in BBS, that's like that's a half a year program.
Yeah.
And it's a strict ass diet and, working out twice a day. So yeah, if he's going to be, if he's going to be in that sort of shape for the Batman, yeah, he's going to have to start now, because I would expect them to probably start filming first of next year at some point, because there's no way it's going to be a 2018 release. It's going to be 2019, and they'll probably start in January or somewhere, January-ish, February, March, early next year. So, all right.
Hey, this just came over too, by the way, on Gal Gadot and her Twitter. So tonight, I guess, is the MTV Awards.
Yes.
New trailer, final trailer.
New trailer.
Yeah, so final trailer.
Oh, really?
Or it's going to show some additional footage, one or the other. Yeah. So we should all check that out tonight. Yeah, it's either going to be the final trailer, or they're going to show some new footage. Either way,
I think it's the new trailer. I heard it mentioned. And
so that's cool.
Yeah, Warner Brothers will send that out as soon as it drops on MTV. I mean, they'll immediately send it out, so you'll be able to find it on. I would say you don't have to just sit there and watch the MTV. Was it the Music Awards or Movie Awards tonight?
The movie awards.
I don't even know.
Yeah, because I'm just looking. It just says MTV Awards when I'm reading.
Okay.
So
yeah, so it doesn't. You don't have to watch it. It'll be out as soon as they drop it. All right.
Hey, I'm old enough to remember when MTV actually was like music television. By the way,
it's not movie television.
Just music television. Like, it used to just actually play videos 90% of the time.
I thought it was more on television.
Oh,
hey!
What was the trivia question? First video played on MTV.
Video killed the radio star.
The Buggles, yeah.
Yes, video killed the radio star. God, MTV, when I was in high school, that's when it first hit, and it was Billy Idol, Michael Jackson, Prince. I could keep going on and on.
Peter Gabriel?
Yeah, Peter Gabriel. Yes, Shock the Monkey. So
and then Van Halen, and then Van Halen came out with Hot for Teacher, and it changed my life forever.
Yes. 1984 album. That's a good album.
That was actually technically released in 83.
Yes.
Called 84.
1984 is the title of the album. Yes.
Yes.
It's the year I graduated high school.
Good God, you're old.
Yeah. We took a senior trip to Florida, to Panama City, Florida, and listened to 1984 on a cassette. On that cassette, all the way from Groves, Texas to Panama City, Florida. So how many times do you think we listened to Panama on the way over there? Because that was on that album. Also, Journey Frontiers was a huge album that year.
So you graduated high school in 83. I graduated high school.
No, 84, sir.
I mean 84, sorry.
Don't put me with that. Don't put me with that shitty ass class of 1983.
84.
We had a much better class. Port Neches Groves High School.
I graduated high school in 1993, so 9 years after you did.
Yes.
Ryan, what year did you graduate high school?
Like 2006.
Justin?
96.
96. That's a little better.
Yeah.
That's a little better.
Yeah. What were you? You were right smack dab in the middle of grunge when you graduated, Rick.
Who, me?
Yes. I mean, just saying that. No, not you,
well, yes
maybe
and
not
no.
you personally, but 93 was.
93 was an interesting year because it was, if you look at like the top 10 albums of that year, rock albums, to say specifically rock, you had a lot of crossover stuff. So it was still like Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Motley Crue, stuff like that. But by 96, when Justin did, like just about all those bands that were from yesteryear, 70s and 80s were more or less obsolete. So
93, I mean, that was like the grunge revolution. Nirvana.
91.
Yeah.
91.
Well, no, it is. It's when it happened. I'm just saying that, but it didn't just wash everything overnight. But by like 94, that stuff was pretty.
All right, Rick.
91 was when Nirvana's second record came out, kind of exploded. But
Never mind.
Yeah. 91, right?
Right,
so, that's also, I think 92. Was it 92 that 10 came out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 91 it came out. 92 is when it started to pick up.
Okay, so Dave Aberzui, the original drummer for Pearl Jam, went to North Mesquite High School. I went to Old Mesquite High School. Anyway, his brother and I used to work at a retail place together. And I swear to God, he came to me and he's like, "Dude, you got to check out my brother's band." He gave me a tape and it was a demo of Even Flow. I took it home and it sounded like dog shit. I was like, "This is awful." You know, I just went back to work, handed it to him, and said, "Yeah, that's going to do great." And then that blew up. And of course, the demo did sound bad, but the actual recording sounded fantastic. So, a little interesting story there.
It is interesting. What's your favorite? Okay, favorite of the grunge bands, Rick? Or rank the top 5.
My favorite grunge bands. Okay, so first of all, let me just say this. This is good. I can't wait. The Smashing Pumpkins were always sort of my Nirvana. I was much more into Gish, and I was much more into Siamese Dreams.
Smashing Pumpkins count as grunge, yes?
Yes. Yeah, of course they do.
Not at all.
Yes, they're so much a part of that.
I would say
he did 2 songs for the Batman and Robin soundtrack.
Yeah.
You have, he did. You have the Pumpkins.
Bring it back.
You have the Pumpkins, Nirvana. You have Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. I'm talking. These are kind of the mainstream bands that were coming out at the time, and those are the ones that were breaking through and actually selling records. And you know what? They made some of those '80s bands look really silly, really quick. You know, and I don't mean the good ones like Motley Crue that actually, in my opinion, kind of transcend. But I'm talking about all those bands that were like Warrant and Winger and Danger and all that stuff was just gone.
Nirvana broke everything. Like you can look, it was like Whitney Houston was one week, and then it was like Nirvana just destroyed everything that was on the charts. It was even Michael Jackson. I think Nirvana dethroned the entire thing. But here's my problem with the word grunge is that is a marketing term, and I have always hated it because every one of those bands, and especially like Alice in Chains gets lumped in there. Alice in Chains predated like that whole scene, you know, by a few years. Even Soundgarden was doing stuff. Nirvana was the one that broke, and what happened was anybody who hailed from Seattle, they just kind of lumped into this one group. But you know, Alice in Chains was kind of pushing the boundaries of metal before hitting whatever, I don't know. They're just rock bands. Like, I feel like Soundgarden's always been more of like a Black Sabbath type of
yeah, they have. You're right. It's a great way to put it.
Yeah, but I guess to help define it, they'll say, "Oh
that's just it, and it's lyrical, Justin. They weren't writing songs about getting blowjobs. This was more serious stuff. And that's where that all gets lumped in together. Is heavy guitar with serious lyrics, and they're not on stage wearing makeup and doing high kicks, and
which they should have been, because
that'd been awesome.
David Lee Roth. Diamond Dave. Yeah. My musical preferences kind of like they hit the middle of like maybe like 1991, and they just split and they go both ways, because I just like a lot of stuff, but
so do I.
Yeah. But yeah. Now Smashing Pumpkins, I think they are just a great band, but
they're a great band. Billy Corgan's a beating.
Yeah. His ego has destroyed it.
But I can separate the artist from the man though. And as an artist, he's phenomenal.
Yeah. I don't think he has done anything great, though, since, like, maybe for 10 years or so.
I loved his last record. Who, incidentally, guess who played drums on several songs on that record? Anybody?
Me?
Tommy Lee. From
no way.
Yeah. Tommy Lee plays, like 4 or 5 songs, and they rip.
Oh, that's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Well, this is one hell of a tangent.
So we are going off on.
No, this is good though.
It's a good tangent. I like it.
No, I love these tangents. We'll bring it full circle and go back to Batman.
Well, hold on. I did not see Nirvana in concert. Anybody here see Nirvana?
No,
okay. Damn, I've seen Pearl Jam.
I've seen Foo Fighters, so I
have seen Foo Fighters too. That's another band. I love that band.
Listen, Kurt Cobain's biggest gift in music was Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, I would say you're 100% right there.
Yeah, because I think Kurt Cobain was an overrated hack, but he did give us Dave Grohl.
Well, that was a hot opinion right there. Golly.
I don't think he was a hack or overrated. I think he's super talented. It's sad what happened to him. I mean, when I think about like what could have been, I mean, who knows? I mean, their third record could have came out and been trash, but yeah.
See, I think In Utero is trash.
Really?
I can't. Oh. And Bleach was cool for its time, and then then Nevermind had a few good songs on it. I don't know. I just Nirvana is just meh to me.
Oh man,
but,
see
but Dave Grohl is amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people that were into like hard rock at that time don't like Nirvana. Not everybody, but a lot. It's like Nirvana was threatening to that type of music.
It was so different from Van Halen and
like they had
Bon
Jovi and stuff from the
which was a good thing, and it needed it.
Yeah,
I'll say this too. The record really that changed glam rock forever, and it was the beginning of the end. It wasn't Nirvana and it wasn't Smashing Pumpkins. It was Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction. Because when that record came out, that was something different. There was that one kicked you in the teeth.
Yeah.
That wasn't polished rock and roll. That was these guys weren't fucking around kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
it felt like they were real. They weren't just
right.
It wasn't a fabrication of we need to write this way. It was like
it was real. It was real and raw. And so when that record came out in '87, and then Lies came out in '88, that changed everything, and that paved a way for bands like Nirvana because, quite frankly, that kind of glam rock was all downhill from Appetite for Destruction. Once that came out, you're like, well, where does it go from here? Because that was amazing, and it had to change. So I will always give Nirvana credit for breaking through and doing that. It was just my personal view that another band more deserved that notoriety, but that's just not the reality of how it happened. Nirvana, I can't deny they are the band that.
But Guns N' Roses is a very significant band in rock and roll history. I wouldn't say.
I mean, look at them now. They tour now. It's like they're selling out stadiums, and it's incredible. I mean, in 2017,
I have not seen Guns N' Roses. I can admit that.
I don't know if I'd want to see them now. I don't know. It was just
Axl.
He's not the same.
He's not.
It's not the same. And they're only selling now because Slash and Duff are touring with them.
Yeah.
Like without Slash and Duff, it's not Guns N' Roses.
Well, they were doing way smaller venues when it was just before Slash came back and they started touring. Yeah. So,
well, he was doing arenas. He just wasn't necessarily selling them out. And then the Chinese Democracy was garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trash groups.
But so that's my thing on Nirvana is that, I got to give them credit where credit is due. I just always felt it should have been another band that broke those barriers, but they did. I can't deny it.
I think. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think it couldn't have been another band. It had to be someone that kind of came out of nowhere and shook things up. Like it completely again, if you look at the top 10 when Nevermind came out, it's bananas. It's like, whoa, there's nothing like them on it. They came out and kind of blew up the entire music.
I mean, listen, the first time I heard oh gosh, what's the name of their big hit?
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Smells Like Teen Spirit. Thank you. The first time I heard that song, I remember thinking, oh wow, what is this? This is amazing. And to me, it's still the best song on that record. But it was just what came afterwards. It was just odd to me. To me, Siamese Dream is just a much more revolutionary album, but it just didn't get the notoriety.
I think the first time I saw Nirvana was when they were on Saturday Night Live and they did Smell Like Teen Spirit, and that's when turned me on to that album. But yeah. But
I would say Siamese Dream gets a lot of attention though too, Rick. I think it actually, like you're saying, I think it's better. Well, it's actually the same producer. It's Butch Vig who produced Nevermind and Siamese Dream. So you got that. I don't know if you knew that. The same guy produced both of those records.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, I'm trying to think if it was Butch. I think it was Butch Vig or Steve.
You sure that was Nevermind he produced? Or was that In Utero?
I think Steve Albini did In Utero, but I could be wrong.
Okay,
I
interesting.
I think that. Sorry, this turned into music talk, but I'm like, I feel like it was the guy from Garbage. He produced Gish and Nevermind.
I liked Garbage a lot.
Yeah.
Let's
look here. Yeah. Okay. I'll say this. All bullshit aside, we would be even having this conversation if it wasn't for the King of Rock and Roll, Elvis Presley. So,
and there you go.
Everybody else. All right. Let's go back to Batman.
Peanut butter banana sandwich.
The real king of rock and roll is Chuck Berry.
I
love Elvis. Don't get me wrong.
Don't get me started. But, yes, Chuck Berry is great.
The man didn't ever write a letter, much less a song.
Chuck Berry is great. He did write a letter. He wrote a letter to Richard Nixon on a plane when he took off. You ever seen that whole story?
Yeah.
Elvis. You get me off another tangent of Elvis and early rock and roll.
Speaking of Elvis.
Yes.
Speaking of Elvis, Ryan, I think there's a place. I think there's a place for a Rocky podcast.
Oh, good.
Yes. Speaking of Elvis, what?
Okay.
Ryan made a suggestion saying I think we should do a podcast one day on the Rocky franchise, and I said I think that'd be great. I put on Twitter, would anybody listen to it, and had a decent response.
Yeah, a decent amount of responses. Yeah.
Just for.
What's that got to do with Elvis?
Yeah.
It was a contrived segue because we needed
it. Okay. All right. Let's last topic. It won't take long. We'll get the hell out of here.
Because I got to run. I got family waiting on me. So let's do it. What's the last one?
Kim Ledger, Heath Ledger's sister, has said that Heath wanted to play the Joker again. Now, she didn't say he was going to play the Joker again, but that he was, he loved working with Chris Nolan and Christian Bale and Gary Oldman and was really excited about the movie, The Dark Knight, and wanted to play the Joker again. Now, the question begs, and probably can never be answered, obviously, is that would he have played the Joker again in Nolan's last Batman film, which turned out to be Dark Knight Rises? Would he have been in that film if he had not tragically passed away? Rick, any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, there's always been speculation that he was originally written into the script. I don't know if any of that is true or not. There could have been a place for him in the film in some capacity, a cameo, a visit to Arkham, what have you. I don't know. But what I loved about that Joker is how absolute he was. He just existed. Less was more. And, he was going off to a padded cell forever. I don't know if we needed to see him again. But for my own selfish reasons, I loved that character so much, and I love Heath Ledger's performance so much. I wouldn't have complained to see him again. But there's a bit, as you kind of alluded to, there's a big difference in the actor saying, I would love to do this character again versus he actually was being planned, to be in the next film.
All right.
Yeah, as Nolan takes these films, case by case, kind of like, I don't know what the original plan was. I mean, they always kind of alluded that, he was supposed. Didn't they allude even in that book that he was supposed to come back? David
Goyer had said once that when they were, I guess, in the early stages of The Dark Knight, that the plan was for that movie to end with the Joker scarring Harvey Dent, which didn't turn out that way, not directly.
Yeah.
And then the Joker would go on trial in the third part. But once they actually wrote The Dark Knight, they threw everything in. They didn't hold anything back. They didn't hold save Two-Face for the third film. So, anyway, that's where that comes from. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, of course I would have loved to see him come back. It's just tragic. I don't know. It's if he wanted to come back, that's cool. That means he was excited about the character and, he had a good time making the movie. And some of my favorite stories of the whole production is, how he, got to, Chris Nolan wrote that really great, piece on him about how, he filmed the Joker's video scenes and he got to direct those parts. And, just to hear that and to see, the relationship between them on the set and that, those are great stories. And, even for the family, I'm happy they get to have those remembrances. But, of course, who doesn't want to see Heath Ledger come back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Ryan?
Yeah, I think your article, Bill, summed it up really well. Thank goodness that Chris Nolan put everything in that movie that he possibly wanted to. And even if Heath was still around, I don't know if they would have had to have had a really good reason to bring the Joker back. Because once you bring the Joker in, he kind of has a tendency of taking over everything. And they did a really good job in The Dark Knight of keeping it balanced, in my opinion. But I feel like if they would have had to have a really good reason to bring him back in The Dark Knight Rises. My only regret is that they kind of, out of all of the wrap-up moments we get in The Dark Knight Rises for a lot of things in the trilogy, like Ra's al Ghul and everything, the Joker unfortunately isn't mentioned at all. It's kind of sad that we don't even get an inkling of, because he was so important and yet he's not mentioned at all. So that's kind of a bummer. But I did really enjoy reading, Bill, your experiences on the Dark Knight set, and people might want to hear that on the podcast too. I know you didn't get to meet Heath, but you got to hear people talk about what he was doing when the movie was being filmed. I thought that was really interesting.
Gary Oldman,
yeah,
was asked about Heath. This was on the set visit, so we're talking June of 10 years ago, 2007, and someone asked about Ledger, and I remember that first picture they had of him that came out with that
like a skull in the darkness with no hair, and everybody freaked out.
Yeah, it was part of that. It was the very first viral thing they did for The Dark Knight.
Yeah,
and that was in May of 2007, and that picture came out. Well, that poster was hanging in the press room. They had a tent. It was a big tent outside that had a TV monitor and tables, and of course, they would come in and we would interview them and whoever came in. But Oldman came in. He was the last one. It was like in the evening, because he was about to shoot. That scene where he runs up the stairs into the bank. That scene. Yeah. It's supposed to be right after the Joker's whatever. You know what scene I'm talking. The press is taking pictures of him and he's running up. He was about to film that scene, and they asked him, and he pointed to that picture of Heath Ledger as the Joker and said, "This kid is doing something awesome," or something along those lines. And I ended up a year later at the press junket. Of course, Heath had already passed by then, and we interviewed Gary, and didn't really get too many. I got one. I asked him about that. He remembered. I asked him. I said, "You told me a year ago that he was doing something awesome." He said, "Well, I was right, wasn't I?" And I remember that was his answer. And I had even asked him after when it came out. I went out and shook his hand, and I said, "I didn't get the chance to ask you, but what was your favorite scene in the movie?" His favorite scene in the movie was him and Aaron Eckhart as Dent in the office, going back and forth, a little back and forth. And then when he's bringing Dent into the Batman, onto Team Batman, and allowing him to have access to Batman and so forth. So that was his favorite scene. But I remember that clearly about Heath Ledger. But yeah, I don't. Just to finish up, I don't think, and we've all kind of alluded to it, that probably he may have had some sort of cameo, kind of like Cillian Murphy did, as a Scarecrow, or Liam Neeson, Ra's al Ghul. But I don't think he would have been back as the main villain. I just don't see Nolan wanting to go there again, where he already created one of the greatest Batman Joker stories of all time, even though it's a film, not a comic book. Why try to top it, and why try to do it over? You're not going to top it, and you're not going to, I mean, what could you do different? Really. So I think even if he had lived, the Joker would not have been the main villain. I think you probably would have got The Dark Knight Rises a lot like what it ended up being. So that's just and you know that, just to finish up, he is not mentioned in The Dark Knight Rises for a reason. That's because Chris Nolan mandated that the Joker was not to be mentioned in The Dark Knight Rises, out of respect for Heath. So
it makes sense.
Yeah. With that, we will end. Rick, go ahead and plug some stuff real quick, dude.
Okay, so quick plug. Reached out via social media and said, anybody out there that knows a Donald Trump supporter that would come on to my political show, and I want to have just a conversation with that person, just one-on-one, and it's going to be respectful. We're just going to have it. We're going to listen to one another. Or I'm going to listen more to that person, and we're going to have a talk. It's something that I don't think you see on a lot of political sites. I'm reaching across the aisle. I'm reaching out. I want to hear from someone. And my whole thing is I want this person. I don't want some redneck, from backwoods Arkansas that's, we're going to ban Muslims. I love Trump. I don't want to.
Now you just alienated all Batman on Film fans in the state of Arkansas. But continue on. Hey,
look, I'm from Mesquite, Texas. Not Arkansas is a great place. All right. So, but anyway, through a friend, there's a gentleman in not upstate, and actually in Manhattan and New York, who's a doctor, who reached out and said, I'll do it. And he and I got on the phone with one another, and he's obviously a very sharp guy, and he's a New Yorker, which is interesting. So I'm gonna do the show Tuesday night, and it's just he and I, and I'll have it live on Wednesday. And I think I'm just titling it a conversation with a Donald Trump supporter, and I think it's gonna be good and healthy and cathartic. Looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Where can they find you on Twitter?
Shewrick, SHEWRICK.
All right. You want to plug pain medication?
No.
Okay.
I don't ever want to talk about pain medication again after another 2 weeks.
Okay. All right, Justin.
Yeah, I just put out.
I want to talk about Guns N' Roses some more.
Rich, Justin, you put out 50 hours of Let's Go podcasts. I can't keep up.
I did two. We put out 2 shows of Let's Go podcast. There's 2 different shows. There's Let's Go Cast, and then there's the Let's Go comic show. Both talked about Guardians in different ways. But if you're interested in hearing about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and some free comic book day stuff, check out the Let's Go comic show. And if you just want to hear a little bit about Guardians and some Star Wars Day stuff, you can check out Let's Go Cast. And there you go. And you can find me on Twitter at J_Rocka.
Yes, and Justin will be coming to Plano, Texas for the Wonder Woman.
Dude, I'm so excited for that.
You're going to get some real Tex-Mex, man. We're going to Chewy's, Rick.
Rick's dead.
I think Rick's out.
All right. So long, Rick. We're going to go to Chewy's, Justin, which is a pretty good Tex-Mex place here in Texas. The original was in Austin, and now they have them in
Yes, we're
Dallas.
going to Chewy's.
Yes, there he is.
That's what
hey, he's back.
Hey now. Hey now.
Eat prior. Hey now. prior to going over to the film, because first of all, it's also right in the parking lot, and of all the Tex-Mex places to choose from, man, it's hard because we can go to Mi Cocina and we can get certain things better there. We can go to Uncle Julio's and get the best fajitas in the world, but pound for pound, Chuy's is got it going on. So, yay, Chuy's.
Nice. Yeah, there's, I mean, a lot of Pete. One of our listeners, Peter, he said he's going, so that's cool. He's like flying in, so
Yes.
there's some people coming in, man. That's that's going to be a fun
He
time.
reviews Detective for BOF.
Detective, yeah.
Yes, he does.
You definitely will have, when you get to Chuy's, I'm going to order for you right now, Justin. You're going to have to get the
All right.
Elvis Presley Memorial Platter. And I'm not
Are you
kidding.
serious? Is that a
Yes.
thing?
Yes, sir.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm interested in that.
Yes.
Okay,
Elvis-
the only thing I can't have fish, so if there's fish on
no
it, I
fish
can't
on
do
it. No
Okay.
fish. No fish.
All right, let's do this.
All right. All right,
Man,
Ryan.
I'm
Go ahead.
I'm excited.
Texas queso margarita, dude. You're gonna be blown away.
That was gonna be
Yeah.
great.
Just look it up. Chuy's.com. Look at the menu. I'm telling you, get the Elvis Presley Memorial Platter. It's awesome. All right. And this is a free plug for Chuy's, by the way. This is not a paid endorsement. Brian.
You can find me on Twitter and on at SMB_Ryan. You can also listen to our Everyone Loves a Tim Drake Robin podcast, and you can find them on Twitter at ELTD Podcast and on the Batman Podcast Network .com. And you should leave the BOF podcast some more iTunes reviews, because I want to read some. And we've actually got 1, 2, 3. We've got 4 new ones since the last time we did this.
Okay.
They're kind of short if you'd like me to read a couple of them.
Let's do let's go to the next one. Next podcast.
Next podcast?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that means
long on
a
this
couple
one.
people should leave more reviews, and then I'll
we'll have
do
a
a
whole
nice
segment.
reading.
Yeah, we'll have a
Yes.
segment on it for sure.
Yes.
All right. Well, I will let one correction. Kate Ledger is his sister. I said Kim. Kim is his father's. Is Heath's father. So I wanted to correct myself on that one. All right. So I'll let announcer Rachel take us out. I am Bill, and for Justin and Ryan and Rick, bye for now.
Hey now! You've been listening to the Batman on Film podcast, a proud member and the sponsor of the Batman Podcast Network, BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. You can listen to the BOF podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, TuneIn, and wherever good podcasts like this one can be found. Want to advertise on the BOF podcast? Go to advertisecast.com/the Batman on Film Con podcast. Follow Jett on Twitter at Batman on Film and on BOF's Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Jett.BatmanOnFilm. Email Jett via Jett@batman-on-film.com. Follow Rick on Twitter at ShewRick and on Facebook at facebook.com/BOF-Shew. For Jett, Rick, Justin, and Ryan, I'm announcer Rachel. Thanks for listening.